Sairam. So today, we want to explore this idea of becoming a student. And we'd like to first talk about what we learned about in the first episode, titled The Modern Day Arjuna. Last month, we explored the idea of Gita Vahini and its themes of considering duty and truth in order to allow an individual to feel oneness with a supreme consciousness. We touched upon this idea of Arjuna Visada Yoga, thinking about Arjuna as our protagonist of the series, the Vishada of the various doubts and delusions and despondencies that we face, with this weeping willow, so to speak, thinking about all of the problems and the doubts we face on our journey. And the idea of yoga, the connection with divinity and that oneness once again. We God gave you an exercise with this image, thinking about the idea of the hand and the progression between darkness and light, with many of you interpreting this image in many different ways, including thinking about the interface between the two and how we exist in both facets. And finally, we set up this idea of Arjuna being the seeker, which is all of us, and Krishna being the teacher or divinity of itself. And we realized how that in taking the role of the character or the body, we can have our teacher, Krishna, lead us in the direction that we need to go towards by allowing ourselves to divest control from where we're headed at. Now, I have a QR code here. If you haven't heard already, our team produced a really awesome podcast recapping this episode. So I do invite you all to take a screenshot of this and do save for a later date if you haven't already heard this. Now, of course, the session is called Becoming a Student. And so I want us to look over the homework that we had you do. You were told or asked to kind of monitor the kind of complaints you had. And so we're going to kind of work on this activity in two ways. I want everybody to pull out your phone or any device that's easy and fill out this survey. And I'm going to talk about some of the results we've gathered in the WhatsApp group that some of you were kind enough to fill out. Okay. So these two things are happening simultaneously. So please keep looking at the slides as I share some insights. But we're also going to have you tell us some of the themes that came out from your complaints, and we'll generate a nice word cloud at the end of this. Okay, and that poll should be live and active. Please let me know if not. So the first and the poll link is also in the bottom. So if you missed it at the beginning. So the first question we asked you in the WhatsApp group is, how often did you complain? Most people were complaining a good chunk of the time, but there was a 15.8% of you that did not complain at all. And so that's really awesome. Um, we also wanted to figure out how you were all coping with the complaining. 10.5% of you said that, you really didn't do anything at all. Some of you replaced and redirected yourself towards other practices, reframing the situation and using more like cognitive levels of kind of thinking about the complaint. And some of you said that you engaged in various spiritual practices like breathing exercises or doing prayer. Now, the other question we wanted to know is, how has your rate of complaining changed over time? Most of you were kind of seeing it decrease, which is really great and one of the goals of kind of watching it. But some of you were kind of like, oh, a third of you said you were not sure about how the rate has really changed, which is totally fine. And a 10% of everyone had an increase in their rate of complaining. And so over the course of this month, it's been really interesting to see how these trends have looked like. And as we go to the word cloud, we can kind of see what are some themes that are being highlighted. And so some of the themes are people, gratitude, expectations of self, pity. So as you guys keep going, we can keep filling out this word cloud, and we will paste it at the slide deck when we send it out to all of you to kind of see if these themes are similar or different than what you all are facing. And sometimes that can be very helpful in just naming what's going on again and being able to identify those. Now, the second homework we had for you was to figure out what internal or external triggers deflect you away from being happy during your day. And again, this is a new poll. Here's a QR code, and then here's the link. And the way this poll is set up is very similar to the internet platform Reddit, whereas you kind of fill out some answers, you can either like give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And so we'll take a couple of minutes to go through this and see what comes up as far as our triggers. These are all really great. Keep them coming. Okay, so we reached our time limit here. So I'm just going to start some of the most popular ones. So expectations of others, um, negotiating with other people is really a big thing. Words, regrets, dissatisfaction, opposite way of thinking, expectations from others, judging other people's anger, being overwhelmed, overcommitting and underperforming, sense of not accomplishing anything, hunger, viewing myself as a failure, the other person's thoughts, disappointment, not accepting what's happening, blaming patterns, and kind of that interpersonal relationships. So yeah, we really like thinking about, the things that are standing out to me from this is how to confront other people and maybe our own self-talk and how we think about these. So I would love to now invite Brother Chakri from Dallas and Sister Jwala from San Antonio to share their experiences with this homework assignment. Does Brother Chakri maybe want to go first?
We cannot hear you, Sairam.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, there's something, yeah, I'm not sure what was happening there. All right, sorry about that, Sairam.
Sairam.
So first of all, I think from the last session, the presenters and uh, the presenters have done an excellent job. And the individual session leaders are also have done a very good job. And the material was really organized and well documented and also was well presented. What I also found is that every presenter had a very good understanding and knowledge of what they were talking about and what they were presenting. So, and they also kept us focused on the questions in the breakthrough sessions. So those breakthrough sessions were really good, and in which, as a modern day Arjuna, we were given a chance to ponder upon our despair and despondency. And so based on those questions, pondering over those questions, what I have observed is we complain, or I complain, when I do not have a complete clarity on a given topic, or when I'm not sure of what the outcome would be, or when I'm not confident, or when I'm worried about the consequences of taking that particular decision. And also, I also calculated that the willingness to do any given action will either set us to go forward to do that action, or the resistance to undertake that action will discourage us to doing that action. So overall, I learned that even Arjuna, who is a very great leader, he was deluded. But basically, the despondency was not a wrong thing. It's good because it tests our steadfastness and sincerity and helps us to take the refuge in Lord. So based on that, how I tackle some of the situations is to understand and learn more about what was assigned to me, and also gladly accept to take any new opportunity. Help me to complain less, because something is, I know that the Lord is showing me a way. And to add to that, I just also recently came up on a small story where a father and a child went to a shop, and after the father finished the purchasing whatever they wanted, the shopkeeper said there's a jar of candy, and he asked the child to take in the candy. It's free, and it's just like holiday season, so you can pick up the candy. And the child did not take anything, and he was just kept looking at the father. And so the shopkeeper asked the little boy again, but the little boy didn't take anything, just kept looking at the father. Father asked him to take. He said no. He did not say anything. He just looked at the father. And so father picked up something, some candy for the child, and they both walked out. And on the way, the father asked the child, hey, why you did not pick up? He said, your hand is bigger than my hand, so when you pick up, I'll get more candy. So what the story is, basically to cut short, is that the God's hand is much bigger than our hand. When he gives a lot more than what you have asked for. So keeping the trust in the Lord and moving forward with whatever is assigned is always opens up a very good opportunity, and a learning aspect is what I have learned. So I have learned to complain less or not to complain much about anything. Saira.
Saira, um, first of all, thank you for extending this workshop to all other regions, and definitely Gita Vayani is something that I would have wanted to do with a bigger group like this. And now coming about complaining, this is something that I had been at least trying to work for quite some time, and I haven't perfected it yet. And so I thought this was a great opportunity to work on. And when I talked to Swami quite a bit, and I said, Swami, this is great. I am excited about it, and I'm going to start working on it. So the moment I said that, I knew I'm up for a challenge, because the very next day, I got a phone call, and it's something genuine issue somebody was mentioning, or genuine issue, but somewhere down the road, I'm trying. I don't want to complain. I don't want to, but that phone call went for such a long time. I fell right into the trap, and I gave my 2 cents, and I became a part of that complaint myself. Then I realized it. I said, oh, what did I do? So anyway, this happened again the next day, and I got a little bit better. And I realized I had still, fallen in the trap. And I again sat in front of Swami. I said, Swami, I blew it. I need another chance. So anyway, as the week went by, it got better. The second week was even better than the first week. But third week, and it's the holiday season, I completely forgot about this. And again, the fourth week, totally forgot about this. So I don't even remember whether I complained or not. And I think I should have done something more concrete, like putting a jar and writing a journal or something, which I did not. So that's a lesson learned for me. And until Brother Murli called me and said, Jwala, would you like to share your experience? I was like, oh my God, I forgot about. And but one thing that I had done, there's something else that I wanted to work on, and I set myself a reminder for every hour, every day. The reminder goes off and it says, talk less, listen more, and like practice silence. And then that is when I realized, okay, I'm going to add this one also, is no complaining, because I need reminders. I actually forget. And without my knowledge, I start complaining. The other thing that like I said, I had been trying to practice this for a while now, and I don't complain as much with others, but I sit in front of Swami, and when I'm upset about something, I sit in front of him and I just let out my steam. But after this workshop, when I sat down in front of Swami complaining or venting out, I really realized that what I thought was venting out was really what do you call, complaining in disguise. And that point, there was like a genuine hesitation even to talk to Swami about something. So I guess I do have a question here. You know, I know I don't want to be bottled up. I want to be able to, express. But at the same time, how can I not complain? And, how do I say things to Swami and still not complain? So that is one thing, if, I would be happy to know if somebody has experience and, can share that. Um, the other thing is what I like about reminders. I tend to forget, and I need reminders from time to time, like a booster shot. So I have put it in my cell phone. It's kind of okay, but this is something that happens without my knowledge. I don't even realize when it becomes from listening to complaining. I don't even realize that. So it's something, again, if you know concrete ways of doing that, that you're very conscious when you talk to people. So I thought maybe that, listen more, talk less might help. Practicing more silence might help with just not complaining in general. So this is my experience, and um, last weeks I was not able to completely attend because I was driving. So I'm all for paying more attention from now onwards. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Sairam.
Sairam. Thank you. I just want to jump in and say, sister, this is the real purpose of this exercise, because the whole idea is for us to become vigilant on the process of thinking. Because ultimately, the whole objective of the organization is to raise the level of consciousness. When the consciousness levels gets raised, we become more aware. When we become more aware, we will start to look at things in a very positive manner. You see, you gave a breakthrough idea just now. What's the breakthrough idea? Hey, what's the point of I'm not complaining there, but then when I stand in front of Swami, I'm venting it out, then isn't that another complaint? You see, you're asking that question. That question is the birth of consciousness. Hey, I'm taking it from here and I'm standing in front of Swami, I'm venting it out, but that's also another expression of complaint. So the question now asked is, how can I, not in the first instance, what am I complaining about? What is it that I must now move into my system so that I don't have a general complaint? How can I sustain more energy and stamina in my interactions so that it doesn't become a complaint? When you start infusing these ideals, your thoughts become more refined, more refined, more refined. And then as you concluded, you're moving into more silence and observation. This is a beautiful experience. Actually, in the last 3-4 weeks that this exercise is done, this is the kind of experience that devotees must practice and do so, because we must start looking at our mind and say, why you think like that? Why you think like that? Why you think like that? That is why this complaint jar was purposely put inside. As you become more and more vigilant about this, slowly when you go to Swami's thing and talk to him also, it'll be talking about Swami, this person came to me. Thank you, Swami, for giving me this irritating person in front of me. It has developed my patience. You see, I've turned this whole situation. Thank you, Bhagavan. I know you want me to come closer to you. Therefore, you have brought this individual who's irritating me. But thank you, Swami. I've developed patience. I'm not complaining about him. I'm thanking you for giving him to me. See, I've changed the whole perspectives now. This is a spiritual mind. Thank you so much. It's a very, very nice. It was very good experience. Sairam.
Thank you too, Sairam.
Over
Sairam,
to
Uncle. Now we actually wanted to invite you to talk about the reflections that we've developed from the homework, especially with the themes about the complaints. And then also, I think it was interesting that the ideas that made people get deflected from happiness was, like dealing with people who are upset with them or being overwhelmed with competing priorities. And so we wanted to get your thoughts on how to frame, I guess, better tools or techniques to kind of cope with those things and thinking of happiness based
yes.
on the responses of our group.
Thank you. So by the infinite grace, love, and compassion of Swami, we just heard 2 experiences. The brother just now who spoke about just now was also very nice, very beautiful experience. He used one word, and I think that is a critical word. Now I use this as a test. I use this as an example. I use this. So this is powerful, which means to say any adversity that is coming now, any difficulty that we experience is actually a process by which we now supposed to move to another level of consciousness. So this is the whole idea. The Vishada Yoga means Vishada is not, we should not stick to the problem, but the Vishada must make connection with the yoga and bridges to another level of consciousness. So every problem in life is supposed to be welcome. Don't evade the problem. That is what the first speaker said. And then the second speaker went on to explain about the processes in the thinking. And that is exactly what a spiritualist must do. So when you start, my job is to become happy. So now you, sister, the whole series of experiences, what deflects us from happiness, now we must become vigilant. Why this has become, why anger has become like that? Why am I distracted? So you must continuously ask, why I should be distracted from this? I should not be. I have my birthright to be happy. Who are you to take me away? Who are you to take me away? So take control of this happiness that you have. Don't allow other distractions that you have listed out, all these things. The idea of listing this out of this is not because this group of people will help you to eliminate those distractions. Our job is to make you become more vigilant so that you will be able to observe the distractions and transcend them. Baba said in Prema Vaini, one line, the last line, Baba said, only because of buddhi will you get, only when you have buddhi shakti will you get this peace of mind. Only when the lighthouse of intelligence comes up will you be able to see the waves of ripples of agitation and restlessness becoming more apparent. Only when in such an individual can slowly will start mastering the mind. So the two exercises that was given in the last is not to solve problems, it's just to become more aware and to become vigilant. That's all. We are just looking at ourselves and seeing where is our weaknesses, where is our strength, because this whole 18 chapters is about rehabilitating and rewiring our inner personality towards something better. So this is the first exercise, and I think it has been very successfully completed. I hope you don't let go of these exercises. You will go deeper and deeper as the weeks pass by. Don't make sure you continue not complaining, and make sure you continue to observe on what pulls us away from happiness.
Sairam, thank you so much for that wonderful answer, Uncle. It's very helpful to continue not just stopping with this exercise, with this session, but to continue make this part of our lives. Now I want to go ahead and introduce Brother Abid Baga, who's a nephrologist from Canada, and he's gonna share his screen and continue taking us through the session. Sairam.
Sairam, everyone. Thank you, and very nice to hear the reflections from Dr. Suresh Govind. We are going to sort of springboard from here and transition into chapter 2 of Gita Vahini, as we did mostly chapter 1 last time. It's a relatively deep chapter with a lot of good knowledge within it, and certainly there's a lot of ways to analyze it. Oops, I'm just going to increase the screen here. So just a quick thing that I learned right off the bat, as I was sort of new to this group, about Gita Vahini, is as we're reading the Bhagavad Gita, it's not a linear relationship of the chapters between the two books of knowledge. So there's a bit of a soft overlap, but it's not exactly linear. So the conversation in the Gita Vahini, as narrated by Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, is more of a lot of knowledge and insights that kind of can cross different chapters. So what I'm going to do to start off is review briefly for everyone the chapter 2 of the Gita Vahini. So in this chapter, we sort of overlap between chapter 1 and chapter 2 of Arjuna's dilemma. So Lord Krishna and Arjuna demonstrate the guru-disciple relationship, which is the divine teacher and the blessed student bond, which we can all learn lots of life lessons from. And so we are evolving through that topic of becoming a student. Arjuna reiterates that he is unable to cope with the current situation, which is quite challenging, where his perception is that he has to kill his elders and his teachers. He's very perturbed by the different forces and is torn, and then indicates he prefers not to fight in this battle. Of course, it's a metaphor for our own life and our own battle with simplistically good versus evil. He essentially refuses at some points, and then begs Lord Krishna to be his spiritual teacher and guide him on the proper path of action. This occurs until the 11th shloka of the second chapter, which is a famous transition. Again, the story of the desperation of Arjuna. And this is where it indicates this is the first step in the exposition of what was termed the Sankhya Yoga, or the path of knowledge, or Gyan. The couple of themes that sort of seem to be highlighted in this chapter 2 were both the becoming a student theme and then the theme of surrender. So the Bhagavad Gita sort of begins at this point specifically, and until now we're referring to Arjuna's delusion, and Krishna is acting in the role of a witness, allowing the despondency to get deeper and deeper and awaiting a point of genuine surrender. At some point, Arjuna throws his bow down, and indicates he's lost his ability to discern what's right from wrong or good from bad. And again, praying and begging Lord Krishna to teach him the way. Lord Krishna, of course, in his infinite love, takes Arjuna on as his student to not only teach him, and I think that's why we're all gathered here today, is to teach through this universal epic for all of us throughout the world. Then the Supreme Lord, imparts divine knowledge. One of the important themes that he begins with is the immortal nature of the soul, or Atma, which is eternal and imperishable. Death only naturally destroys the physical body, but the soul continues on its journey. So transition moves to sort of Lord Krishna's guidance. First, he questions Arjuna. When you were clear all along of your path and your vision, why is the grief now sort of overcoming you when the battle is now imminent? He further articulates that the other side has done many injustices, and you have your right for the land to come to you. You've bared the agony and not wavered from the truth. You've tolerated the prolonged exile. The other side has not made any compromise, and now the war is the only way for the blind Duryodhan to have his eyes opened. The war was decided after long deliberation with responsible elders reviewing the pros and cons, and how wrong it would be now to turn back. The Lord also then reminds Arjuna that it's his social responsibility as a warrior to fight for upholding righteousness, and performing one's social duty is a virtuous act that can take him to the celestial level. And to think of the duty as a member of the Kshatriya caste, or the warrior caste, specifically to uphold dharma and to protect justice. In his desperation, Arjuna asks Katham, meaning how, and this term revealed a lot in the Bhagavad Gita, in that the Gita does not merely describe what has to be done, but it goes deeper in the how things have to be done. Arjuna remained torn and was indicating that, stating, I am helpless. As you are guiding the chariot, guide me also and show me the way. And moreover, I have no further concern for worldly prosperity, and now I only crave for spiritual progress. From that moment, Krishna becomes the guru and Arjuna is a disciple. So he prayed for that status, he got it. Until he accepted the attitude as a learner, as a student, his heart had previously been filled with egoism and weakness. So the reason for all of this, when one looks into it a bit deeper, is nothing but coming down to the ego or egoism. We attach ourselves to the transient body attachment, rather than understanding the more deeper Atmic reality. So prema, or love, is the viewpoint of Lord Krishna, and of Arjuna it was more delusion. He suffered the agony because of that. Then he realized the egoism had led further to the ignorance and confusion that he had undergone. He surrendered his judgment at that point to the Lord, and then saved himself. Recognizing this error within oneself is the first sign of a good step of a good disciple. It's the beginning of wisdom. So we learn from this aspect of the epic that a great soul such as Arjuna, who had reached a point of desperation, he had to take pause. He had to unlearn his existing knowledge to allow the new knowledge to be received. So this spotlights sort of two key messages. One is to be receptive to being that student, which is quite humbling often, to admit a lack of knowledge, as well as an element of surrender, to allow the divine to shower grace and embrace the outcome regardless. So the process of surrendering is not in just giving up the effort, which sometimes it can be confused with, but in letting go of the expectations, letting go of the desires and the preferences. This dharma is not laid down or recommended only for the extraordinary among men, such as Arjuna. It is within the reach of all of us who with this hunger for the divine. Even the most impressive sinner can cleanse their heart and become pure by surrendering to their Lord. So we do all realize, all of us are learning from each other. We're all students, but I guess our goal is to become better students in this arena of life. So we want to learn from our experiences, which I think is one of the key messages for today, from other experiences, from other guides and gurus. We're always, as a student, evolving. It could be, we're talking about the spiritual domain, but it can cross over into any domain. If you want to learn a sport, if you want to learn tennis, you have to learn the serve, you have to return the receive, you got to learn placement, speed, spin. There's so many aspects to it too. So one has to embrace fully the aspect of being a student. And as we learn from Swami, the end of education is character as the most beneficial part. So that is a summary of what was felt to be the highlights of chapter 2. And if we have a chance to, I find that each time I read it, and I think I read it 10 times preparing for this, that each time you kind of get another aspect of it, another pearl, which has been a great benefit of joining this group. As a transition, we're going to have a breakout room at this point, which is predominantly meant to be experience sharing, so we learn from each other. With the primary question being describing a time or a personal experience when you had no other choice but to let go and let God take control. So essentially an element where perhaps there's a life situation where there was some surrender involved. Well, I think one of our thoughts when we put this together was not to be overly academic or intellectual. It was more just experiential. So I guess perhaps to just kind of throw in a story of life, and I think unfortunately there's probably quite a few. It can be education, it can be finance, it can be health, is just reflecting back to my brother who had some health issues and ended up in the ICU. And I think being a physician has pros and cons when you have someone who has health issues, because you sort of have this assumption that you understand it well, and you walk into the to the situation feeling that with the knowledge you have and good intentions, that whatever you feel should be done is right. And so my brother was in the ICU, and several aspects were happening, and things were getting worse. And sometimes you feel like, having learned certain things, read certain things, let's try this, let's try that. And one time he had some fluid collection around his lung, which is a pleural effusion. And I had suggested they're having trouble getting him off the ventilator. Let's just drain it with a needle. And the physician said, that's not a good idea. There's not enough fluid to drain. I guess I insisted in that moment. And then not only was there not a lot of fluid, they hit the lung, it caused a lung collapse and another chest tube to go in. So it just actually got worse. So the more I tried to control the situation, it almost seemed like it was getting worse. And so it was sort of a time where you did have to let go and say to Bhagwan that, you have to guide what happens next with the teams that have the, expertise and of content. And I think when you reach that point, then often, in this particular case, things got much better by just essentially surrendering and moving forward with good intentions, still using one's knowledge, but accepting the outcome for whatever is meant to be for some of the.
So, what was your experience? Just summarized summary of listening to other people, and at the same time even narrating your own experience. That point in which you let go. Did you experience? I mean, most of the time, most people have experiences, but it's unfortunate that sometimes we just narrate the experiences. We got many, but when you start to rewind back and slow rewind back, and you get that point, that's the point actually you just let go. Did anyone feel that maybe the FSI of those groups could summarize that, or anybody in your group would like to say something? One or two experiences? Maybe
just from our group, I can briefly state that there were a lot of great experiences shared. One person reached a point where in their scenario they just felt there was no solution, and the only solution would be Swami, and they had a personal conversation with Swami on a daily basis, and they learned the value of patience. It took 2 years, but that guided them through that challenging situation. Another story was a visit to Puttaparthi, where there were infinite challenges, and thinking that they'll never figure out how to get there. This was decades ago when it was difficult to know how to get there. 3 trains and all sorts of ways to reach there, and a fruit seller on the side of the road helped tell them how they have to get there. So Swami sends with his invisible hand, sends a guide at that moment. So there was often the theme was just reaching a point of desperation and saying, I can't deal with this anymore, and throwing their hands up in the air and then surrendering to Swami to allow the process to unfold.
Oh, very nice. Thank you, Amit. Very nice. Anybody else? Any other faces want to summarize their version, their experiences?
I can jump
Sairam.
in. Oh, Sairam,
Yes,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Please, Sairam, please.
So I had interesting conversations. Everybody shared few things about, for some, it was like they start their day with the prayer of surrender so that everything they do throughout the day is there. But for some, it's like very specific incident they mentioned, like they had tried all possible things. And then somebody reminded that, okay, this is something else that you can do. And then they decided to surrender and see the result beautifully. That has then led on to surrender even before that. But the important part was many of us do start our day with that, and many of us, like Swami says, we try all our options, and at the end when we realize that this is out of our hand, we just hand it over to Swami and then feel the relief. And there was two beautiful incidents that were shared. I wanna share here about brother, you wanna share it yourself? You were talking about the Christmas drive with your parents.
Saram, I'll keep it brief. This
Yes.
happened many years ago, many decades ago. My parents were visiting me from India, and I was in Arizona at the time, and we had gone to LA for tourism purposes, and then we had some issue with the car on Christmas Eve, and we tried to go to the dealership, get it fixed, and they said, no, we're all busy, come back after the Christmas weekend. And I was almost getting stuck in the downtown of Hollywood. And this was before the cell phone days, Google Maps, nothing was available. So just didn't know what to do. And my mom, who was sitting behind me, she just told me, like, why don't you take Vibhuti and apply on the steering wheel and see if the problem goes away. And being an automotive engineer, I was not sure if that's going to make any difference at all, because I knew she was something else. But just taking my mom's advice or suggestion, I just took Vibhuti, put on the steering wheel, prayed to Swami, and then the vehicle had no problems, and we reached safely that night home, so the hotel. So, and that made a beautiful journey for my parents later on. My father went back to India, and then he was able to serve in Pathi Hospital for about 20 years after that. So that was a beautiful seed for the later part of my father's life. Sairam.
Wow, very nice. Can you imagine automotive engineer smearing vibhuti on the steering wheel and the car moves? Oh, it's amazing, really. Okay, anybody else?
I can jump in. I had Sairam and Chitra in our group. We had amazing stories. I would kind of categorize them in a few health scenarios, like when people were letting go because they realized in a particular health scare that they didn't have control, and prayed to Swami and he came through, or in various scenarios of getting to Puttaparthi, or in Swami's physical presence, praying for his grace, and out of once they released control, getting that grace, which was inspiring. And then some internal stories of internal processing when in relationships we don't get necessarily the reciprocation that we would like, and some just realizing, of course, we can't control anyone else. So that process of praying in order to let go and release the pain that comes from the expectation that that we have when we are in those situations. So basically what I took from that is, some realization of there's a level of pain and suffering that we're we may finally realize we no longer want to have in our lives. And that's the point where we let it go.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, that's a very, very powerful realization point Chitra just mentioned. I'll come to that. Okay, anybody else, last person, anybody else from the group? Any other FSC who have got some very interesting?
Yeah, since the car thing was discussed, so this happened in 2008, and I come from a scientific background, working in India is ISRO as a space scientist for like 10 years. I came in 2008 and I got a car, this old car, like 150K miles on it. And it's old car. So I was driving and I just made a dent to car. So this dent was there and I was feeling bad. And I didn't tell Suvarna she was pregnant. So I was just thinking, what, Swami, how did this happen? I've got driving experience for quite a while, but this dent really troubled me and I was bothering it. And next day or couple of days back, again after a couple of days, I showed my wife, hey, this happened. I'm so sorry that this happened to our car, and this being our first car, I was feeling bad. So after I took her to the hospital and they came back the night. It was cold night. I'm in Dallas. So the next day, it just vanished. And we were saying, we were like completely surrendering. Swami, this happened. I know it's a very tiny thing. It just vanished. The dent which was there on the car, it just vanished. It was there for a couple of days, but after I showed wife and we surrendered it, right? Then it just suddenly the dent vanished off. And the other thing is the complete the surrender thing, right? I have this confusion already. Always being a Swami student for a while, I have this. Okay, Swami gave us all the capabilities, everything. So why don't we try it out? Why it's like surrendering him, right? It's like throwing. Okay, it's your job now. You take care of it. I feel this dilemma whether we should surrender completely or we should try it out. I don't know. This dilemma is always there. If Suresh uncle can help us in understanding that. Let go is not that easy. I mean, I have faced trouble in my work life too, or when we get in US, right? Everything is like contract based. Your contract suddenly end without any reason. They just terminate your job, sort of thing. And we feel like, okay, what did I do? I did very well, and my success is so good. But why are the people let go and to let go the things? It's completely difficult for me. I don't know. I have been facing the challenge, but I haven't successfully went through that. I mean, I'm still struggle. Let going the things is not that easy.
Okay, so let me combine all these 3-4 sessions because we have another 15 minutes more. So the subject about letting go, the subject about when at the point of time should we exert effort, and then when do we let go. So these are questions that we need to reconcile. So I want to quickly bring this. First point, we have not completed chapter 2. I just want to let you all know we are now in chapter 2. We are not completed chapter 2. We are only 10 verses that we have finished in chapter 2. When he completely surrendered, when he fell at the feet of Krishna, Krishna starts opening his mouth to give the wisdom only from the 11th verse onwards. So we have now, this morning, we have finished 10 verses, which means to say comprehensively simulated conditions in which we tentatively surrender to God, or we know what the meaning of the word surrender. So Amit and Nirupama nicely took from the point on which, number one, we become a student. So in the process of becoming a student, you cannot possibly become a student if you do not have a teacher. So in the first instance, there should be reverence and respect. That is why the video that you saw in the first place, reverence and respect is necessary to learn from a higher consciousness. If you do not have these prerequisites, whatever great the teacher is, you will never be able to learn anything. That's why even Krishna went to the Kauravas and showed his entire Vishwarupa self, and then nothing happened there. So the real reason is because Kauravas never had the reverence and respect. So how can you expect knowledge? The knowledge can be there in front of you, but you must have the receptivity. So becoming a student is the first signal that your antenna of receptivity is up. So this is the first point. Second point is, once your receptivity is up there, then it's a question of wanting to understand. In trying to understand, we have got a lot of preconceived ideas. Do you know the problem with spiritual people is that they think they're spiritual? That's the problem with spiritual people. We feel, oh, this is, oh, we are going there. We got all these preconceived notions of what spirituality is about. We carry all these things, a lot of luggages. So there's a whole load of unlearning that we need to do in the process of trying to. Unlearning is a very, very big process. That's why in the video session you saw, the glass has to be empty in order for the teacher to go. If we ourselves go with so much of preconceived notions of what the reality is supposed to be, we cannot learn. So forever we have to be a student. That's why Swami said, a good teacher is forever wanting to be a student. A good student is forever yearning to be a teacher. It's a Baba said. So if you want to be a good teacher, yearn to be a student all the time. Till we die, we are learning. We're learning. So that learning of that student's mindset is becoming a student. The student mindset is all the time learning, all the time listening to everything and picking up from everything. Because why? Because we have not reached our ocean. So our river is flowing. So there are so many ways of looking at this. Third point. Whenever a problem comes to us, which is what Brother Chakri mentioned just now, he said, whenever we have a problem is a means of educating us that we have reached a certain point, we must go forward. We cannot remain in standard 1. If you're going to, Amma, I don't want to go to standard 2, Amma, please, Amma, I passed all the exam for standard 1. Okay, beta, you stay in standard 1. Never, it's okay, darling, you stay here. And then after 15 years, he's still in standard 1, means you will outgrow your table. The table will be so small, you will be outgrown, a lot of difficulty. So the issue is we go to standard 2, standard 3, standard 4, because the breaker is the exam. The deal breaker is that you have to sit for the exam and you get better, you got up. So you're upgrading your system all the time. So we can never come to a stage in which we are enough. This enough is not a problem, is the biggest problem in spirituality. Complacency is the biggest thing. Is the biggest devil. That's what get out devil, G-O-D, get out devil is complacency. So we have to get rid of this particular idea that all the time we need to improve. So we must come to the teacher, what is it, teacher? What is it, teacher? Where is it, teacher? What is it? So we must keep on asking this question. Now comes a point where we now need to reconcile. So when we ask Baba that we are going for research, for example, I myself am a researcher. So to answer that question, whenever we go into the battlefield, go into the lab or go into this one, you pray to Bhagavan and summon all the potentials that you possess. Summon all the efforts that you need to do. Very important. You need to pray to Bhagavan and make his inspiration come through you to read all the necessary books. You must have the wisdom and the knowledge here in your hands, and then attempt the paper or tackle the problem. At the end of the day, when you let go, when you come to a point in the problem, and many times this has happened in my own scientific disc, after trying everything that we can have a try, Bhagavan, I did everything, Swami. What else can I do? Please, Swami. That's when something will happen. Something will happen. Some you can see the unseen hand of Sathya Sai moving. That is only in correspondence to effort. If you put your 2 legs on the table and then sit like this, and then what happened? You're not working. No, why? Let go. You find that no results will ever come. Because Baba said one beautiful word. My effort, my grace is directly proportional to effort. So we must have the tapas. Oh, Bhagavan, I want to sit for meditation, Swami. I want to finish it. Bhagavan, for you, I want to do. We reach a roadblock. Bhagavan, I cannot move this. How, Baba? How? Boom, the door opens. He will look back at this point, whether we have exerted the effort. That is the point in which you should let go. So this is the point that we must now understand, that we need to exert as much effort as possible before we surrender to God. So this is not, don't surrender to God and then expect results to come. It will never happen. We are wasting our time. You're wasting our time. Nothing will happen. So grace, the formula is, Baba said this many times, grace is proportional to effort. Baba said, fire, I have created the fire. I also created the wind. When the wind blows, the flame will be extinguished. Hey, at least I expect you to exert some effort and put a glass in front of the flame so that my wind do not extinguish my flame. That is effort which so he said, I melt with your prayer. When my grace comes when your prayers melt my heart. So these two things must come together in a devotee. In everything, this is a classic example of what we should do. Fourth point. So then how do we now continuously live in this world? We don't have to wait for a great suffering for us to surrender, because we don't have to wait for one great disaster, then or let go. Every moment in our life, we must continuously let go. And let go is by the way, every day after bhajan, don't you asatoma sadgama, you are chanting this. So from truth lead me to untruth. Therefore, I have to let go of this truth and then go. Then only I have to let go of this untruth to go to this truth. But tomorrow, this truth, yesterday's truth, today will become untruth. Then I have to go to another truth. So my journey is from untruth to truth. I have to let go of untruth to go towards truth. You see, the process must be there. If you do not let go, you won't get to a higher truth. So you must have one truth. It's a continuous journey to go from one truth to another truth, to another truth, to another truth. This is a journey. That's why Baba said, love my uncertainty. Because you're very certain about certain things, there will be a shake up there. So love my uncertainty and enjoy the entire process. So in a roller coaster ride, you let go, isn't it? You don't have plans. Anybody who has a map of the roller coaster who's going, excuse me, can you tell me where the bump is and where the turn is and where the twist is? Can you show it to me, because I need to program and study this, then I will be prepared for, then that's not a journey. You won't enjoy the journey. Journey is let go. You don't know where you're going to go, and suddenly you'll end up in the destination. So the point is, we have to have what is called faith. So in the whole point of Arjuna's this one is Krishna, and don't forget now one thing, one important point. Arjuna and Krishna had many chances to be together. They were walking by the river, they were going by the lake, they were two good friends. Krishna, if he wanted to give the Gita, he would have given it in a less terrible situation like that. He would have given the river, Arjuna, come, sit down. Take some murku. Okay, you eat this murku, I will eat this. Gita is he could have done it in a more pleasant and amicable solution. He didn't do that. It was right in the middle of the war. Don't forget. His entire in a situation of the knowledge must be in the middle of an examination. The knowledge must always come to us when in the middle of the examination. Actually, I'm very calm, brother Saira, I'm very calm. But when my mother-in-law opens her mouth, okay, this is the problem. That mother-in-law opening her mouth is the examination. That is the time when you should be calm and you should summon the knowledge of what Gita is at that battleground. Not when everybody in bhajan, samasta loka, then you are becoming calm. It doesn't make sense, isn't it? So therefore, the issue here is that the knowledge must come to us at every examination situation, at every month. So therefore, we have to orientate ourselves all the time and become alert in every way. Last point, as we are moving towards perfection, our mind must continuously seek the higher and higher goal, which means 100%, which is why the last session we ended, I think one of the sisters asked me this question, why did you only mention weakness? Why didn't you mention strength? You see, when you're earning 40%, 50%, yeah, that's okay. But if you're aiming for 100%, the student will always look at the weakness. Hey, why am I earning only 50%? Why is it not I'm getting 100%? So that 50% gap is what is called the weaknesses. So he has to look at the existing, where is it to improve? Where is it to refine? Where is it? So this refinement and improvement is how you move towards higher states of consciousness or higher goals of consciousness. So our entire quest is continuously improving our systems, our thinking, our processes all the time. So what do? What is the easiest, brothers and sisters? The easiest way, hook on to Swami's mission. Look on, that's the best thing. I'm telling you, don't all the time when you get, well, how do I improve? What do I do? What can I do to make our lives better? How can I make the world a better place to? How can I make the center a better place? How can I reach out to the youth? If you have this possession in your mind, you're constantly in meditation and you're continuously in touch with Bhagavan. Swami's ideas will come and the entire place will become beautiful and brilliant, and every time everything will become an opportunity. That's why the homework for this session is, because last week we had a homework, this week is the homework is the moment you bend down, the moment you touch the feet, and the moment you make Swami our revered Guru, is not just for occasion, but revered Guru, then the whole thing is that The entire universe must become university. The whole universe will become the university. That's the thing. So when the whole universe becomes a university, you find that how can everything in this world teach me a lesson for me to go towards God or make me a better person or create a better version of ourselves. For example, as I was praying, oh Lord, thank you for giving me this irritating person. He's always irritating me, but he's definitely developing my patience. So see, that particular situation, he's now part of my university who's teaching me this lesson. Everything becomes an accident. Came out, you didn't shout, oh, thank you, Swami, for this accident. Lucky it happened this way. If not, it could have happened worse than before. And lucky I was calm enough. I didn't see, everything is in a positive state. Everything is so everything that happens in this world is a lesson in our life. How you do this? Because you now have the reverential attitude that Bhagavan is the whole world is Swami. That's a creator, and the creation is one and the same. So the creation through the creator is teaching me many, many things in this world to bring this river back to the ocean. That is a spiritual mind. So he stops complaining. You see, automatically I stop complaining. Why? Because everything that I complain for is now teaching me a lesson to improve. Number two, I do not move away from my happiness. It comes straight. Number three, all the time I'm making my universe your university, which is Baba. See, these three things comes together nicely in this subject. So we only covered, don't forget, only a mindset to receive the knowledge. We have not actually gone to the knowledge, because it's only from 11th verse onwards the knowledge will come. He talks about karma, dharma, and so many other aspects in the Sankhya Yoga that comes as a flow. But we are just, this session today and the beautiful session of all of you who narrated the experiences is only to express the concept of what it means when we finally let everything go and depend upon that one source to keep us alive. So this is, dear friends, is what today's session is on how can we become a student. And this is the homework that we need to do when you return back. How can we make this universe a university? Everything is the, okay, a child comes to you, the son comes, okay, what is he teaching? Okay, this experience came to me. What is it teaching me? What is this experience teaching me? What is this? I'm telling you, suddenly you'll find, my God, so many reminders comes to you, in many, many different ways. And you'll find so exhilarating. Life becomes extremely exhilarating for us to live. In one good example, which one best example, which I always remember, is the 25th of July, 1982 incident. Why I remember all these things is because, well, anyway, I remember all these things. So 25th July, 1982 is when this famous actor was acting in this movie, and suddenly he was hurt, and blood started, internal damage. He was taken into the ICU. The whole country was in paralyzed. There was a lot of articles that came about. Everybody was in prayer, and it was so critical. And the story goes, because I read the biography many times. So the story goes, his wife went out and prayed, walked barefooted to the Vinayagar temple and all that, and came back. Then the doctors all came out, went to the wife and said, I'm very sorry to tell you that he is clinically pronounced dead. That's what, 25th July 1982, he was clinically pronounced dead. The wife went out, sat there, took the Hanuman Chalisa and continued to pray with intense intensity. It's at that height of that intensity, when all doctors have given up hope, suddenly the foot started to move and slowly life came back. And that's when Amitabh Bachchan returned back in life. I'm just giving a story of this. So this was a very nice, beautiful analogy to say that everything, at some point when everything goes, suddenly life means hope is there. So in the same manner, that point in which you just give everything to God, but don't let us wait for something like that to happen. Every day have this intensity. Oh Lord, one more day has passed by. One more day has passed by. Why I have not seen you? Why? So I for this particular incident, the one story that really hits me, which very, very strongly, is Sabri. In Sri Lanka, when we went for this recent international conference, the youth in Sri Lanka organized that particular play. And they talked about this. My God, I was sitting in the front row. I was watching the drama. I couldn't believe it. How the acting, how the people took heart and what emotion and devotion. And this lady, small teenage girl, you know, she left her home and went and stayed with the Swamiji. And then finally the Swamiji said, Amma, you stay here. Sri Rama will come. I'm going into the forest. And she stays in the whole teenage life, youth life, elderly life. And finally, when she was still old, only thought was, when will Sri Rama come? When will Sri Rama come? When will Sri come? And she used to eat all these berries and throw away the one that is not so good and keep the ones that are sweet, because she thought every day Sri Rama will come. Wow, the intensity in which she was speaking, talk about surrender and talk about being a student, the whole universe, everything for her was Sri Rama, until Sri Rama came to her and she had that experience, and Sri Rama gave her moksha and mukti. That means single-pointed devotion, single-pointed attachment to this bigger, finer goal is what finally will liberate us from this. So this is the yearning that we must have every day in our life.
Sairam, Brother Suresh, I have a question.
Sairam, who's this? Yeah.
This is regarding, we are surrounded by people who are also non-Sai devotees, right?
Yeah.
And from Swami, we've learned so much about surrender, so many things, ritual. Now, supposing, any of them come to us and say, have this issue and all that and suffering so much, how do we, sort of help them, we have undergone so much and, experiences with Swami, and how sometimes letting go and let God take over, how do we help them out in that sense? I just would like to find out from you. Thank you.
Anyone who also comes comes in front of us and asks for help is also the universe asking for help. So what do we do? So this is part of the universe, So what do? We also pray to Bhagavan, and at that point of time, the right wisdom, the right knowledge, the right experience will come into us to confer the right wisdom and knowledge to the other individual for help. You don't need to say, then I am helping you. You don't, oh Bhagavan. That's why Swami said in one discourse, what is the difference between good work and God's work? Good work is when somebody is asking for help or someone asking for food, you give food. But God's work is when someone is standing in front of you, you must always feel that Swami is standing in front of you. And who is giving this help of food? Swami in you is giving the Swami in him the food. That connection we do. So like that, we don't need to worry. We just, at that moment of time, the right advice will come, the right help will come, and we just continuously help whoever who comes in front of us. It will all be very as natural as we can, because we are also part of that universe.
Sam, just to add to that, Dr. Suresh Govind, I remember Swami materializing a photo with two Swamis. One Swami as him, and the other Swami is the Swami in the other person. I don't know if you've ever seen that photograph.
Yeah. Yeah. So the point.
The point basically is see Swami in the other person, no matter what, no matter whatever experience you're getting at that moment in time, and which reminds me of I forget the name of the doctor. Once he was in New York, and a friend of his talked about his experience. A thief came into this person's house and with a gun and what have you, and started pointing a gun, and he said, "Swami, is that you?" And the way he talked, the gun fell out of that robber's hand, and then he went away. And I forget the doctor who narrated this story. Yeah.
Yep. So
Maybe
these all experience. Yeah, all these are experiences to remind us. We've come to time. I think this is 1.5 hours we have passed, and I think we have to close this session. Thank you so much. Really, really, really inspiring session, how to surrender. Thank you so much, Saira.
Just briefly to conclude, thank you, Dr. Suresh Govind, to the facilitators and everyone for joining. Just as a quick concluding summary, we learned that following the dharmic or righteous path is not as easy as we can learn from the epic in Arjuna and Lord Krishna. We are certainly all lifelong students in our spiritual journey, learning from each other as we are today, and we're embracing the concept of surrender. A quick reminder, we will send out the homework of how can we make this university a university, and please join us again for episode 3 on February 4th on the appropriate time zone. And again, we'll close, and thank you to everyone. Sairam.